well, didn't that become a buzzword since the outbreak of the pandemic? And with the second wave, shall I call it the tsunami of the second wave that we're seeing of coronavirus, once again, EdTech is in focus. Today itself, you've seen two big announcements of big bucks coming into EdTech companies. One is Temasek, which has put in about $120 million in Upgrad. The second is Lead School, which has got a $30 million check in its latest fundraising activity. Joining me now is the co-founder and CEO of Lead School, Sumit. Sumit, thank you so much. Look at the times that we are in. It's difficult to even smile when you have moments like this, which is a big checks that are coming in, but you're playing a very important role as well, and that is in the education space. It's not like we can afford to lose out on that because of the pandemic. From that front, I would imagine this check means a lot more.
Yeah, thanks, Nayantara. I couldn't agree more. I think when I was talking to my team, I was saying the same thing, that we've got to take whatever small moments of joy and celebration that we can get in these tough times. And I think what we have done so far is the raise is a validation for the work that we've done in getting schools. We basically moved all our schools online, and we were able to provide uninterrupted learning to our students throughout the last year. And while the focus of the country has been in treating the sick and preventing the spread of the virus, the 260 million students who go to schools, they are an important part of our country. And we've been focused on ensuring that they get their learning and they don't get a huge full year of learning loss. So I think with this funding, what it will allow us to do is to ensure that we keep taking our work deeper in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns, and ensure that we continue our work of transforming schools in these places.
It's well documented that how you've said in the past that you're impatient to reach out to the villages, to the smaller cities. How long will all of that take, or is the focus right now primarily to help schools get their model right? It does look like, EdTech is here to stay. Maybe some kind of a hybrid model will come up.
Yeah, see, fundamentally, the problem in India is that while 260 million students go to school, it doesn't translate to learning. And this problem is the worst in smaller towns, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns. And that's our area of work. In the more we transform schools through implementing good, solid curriculum technology to really transform how schools run, the more students will learn and the more India's potential will get transformed. So, to answer your question, see, there are about 200,000 affordable schools in India. We've just scratched the surface so far. So there is a lot more to be done. And I guess with partners like GSV and Westbridge coming on board, we not only get access to capital to do this important work, but we also get access to global innovation, which we can then contextualize for our unique needs in India in the smaller towns.
So for now, the immediate focus you've told me about, and what will you use the $30 million fundraise for?
Broadly, three things. I mean, if you look at it, we've got to reach more students and more schools because in India, each school is a really small subscale enterprise. So as we bring schools into our network, we are able to bring innovation to these schools. And then we've got to invest more in product and curriculum innovation. And third, I think we also need to give parents a signal that, if they want quality education, if they want good schooling, they need to look for a school that is powered by Lead. So I think product innovation, growth, and brand, those are the three areas we will be putting and investing the money that we've raised.
Pardon me for asking you this one question, Sumit. This is not your first fundraise, right? And at a time when startups are able to raise such big checks, why didn't Lead School do that?
Yeah, maybe I think we are cut from a different fabric, Nayantara. I think internally, one of the mantras we hold in the organization is that we need to focus on Saraswati and then Lakshmi will come. As an education company, I think we are focused on learning outcomes, and we are also a little conservative in how we raise cash, because I've also realized raising too much money puts pressures and distorts incentives, because then you want to get growth at all costs. And we are very focused on ensuring that we are not blinded by just a blind drive for growth. We also want to ensure that whichever student we reach, whichever school we reach, we are actually able to deliver learning outcomes. And that requires a measured approach. And in India, the thing is that if you have a really good solution to a problem, growth will come. But you need to do it the right way, and that's what we're really trying to do.
Can you now tell me, with schools shutting down, like for example in Delhi, in Gurgaon, in Mumbai, schools have had to shut down because of the second wave of tsunami, call it what you want. How are edtech companies using this time, especially those that are in the business of the live K-12 cases? Are you improving your models? Are you coming out with summer holiday programs? What?
Yeah, I think the first port of call was to ensure that student learning is uninterrupted. And, admittedly, online has its own challenges. So what we've been trying to do is first to replicate the physical experience of a student learning as much as possible in the online learning environment. And I would say we've been partly successful. If I look at last year's results, our end of year exam results were about 74%, which is not too bad, because otherwise in the physical world, our average is 80%. So that was the first port of call. But the second thing we also realized is that because of schools being locked down, the social emotional development of children is a big challenge. So we've had to incorporate modules and activities which help students, deal with this situation. Because for students, a school is not just about learning, it's also about socializing, it's also about learning to live life with their peer group and figure out their place in this world. So how do you really help students in their social emotional development has been the second challenge. And the third one is, for parents and teachers and for students, how do you really assess whether you're making progress? Because students need feedback in terms of what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. So the whole online learning environment has had to go through a rapid transformation to ensure that it is able to replicate the physical world as much as possible. Now, in January, February, March, we saw that some schools were open, some were not. So we had to move to a hybrid environment where some students were able to come to the physical school on some days, others were not. But if a school can still deliver uninterrupted learning, irrespective of whether you are sitting at home or you're coming to school, for the foreseeable future, for the next 3 to 6 months, that's the world we're going to live in. So we've developed now a solution of hybrid learning before the physical schools eventually start.
Now, I've also got to ask you this one more question. In the smaller towns, which is where you are impatient to reach, have you started seeing private schools carve out budgets for the hybrid models that you're talking about? Or is this still a very big city phenomenon? Because EdTech is still not affordable.
Yeah, while EdTech is not, schooling is, and I think that's what I keep saying, that in India, in a country like India, schooling is core. Every child needs schooling and goes to a school. Tuitions and supplemental education is optional. And in fact, the depth of market for EdTech and B2C is going to be limited because of affordability. But the truth of the matter is every child goes to a school. And if we can just improve and transform their schooling experience, they don't need to do more. And we aim to ensure that we don't add an extra cost to the school or to the parent. We replace their current inefficient mechanisms of learning with an integrated system which is proven to now deliver learning. So that is why we are seeing rapid adoption. More than 85% of our schools are in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns. We in fact consciously focus because that's where the point of need exists for a country like India. So we are seeing rapid adoption because we solve a real problem, and that's what every child really needs. Not every child can afford a private tuition or a supplemental education.
Okay, so lots for everybody to think about. Sumeet, with that, thank you so much for taking the time out and for joining us here on ET Now.
Thanks, pleasure.